2020 has been a powerful reminder that we are all in this together, and our choices and actions have the capacity, have the power to protect the most vulnerable amongst us. And the same holds true when we talk about cancer. October is the Pink Ribbon Month, an important month in the calendar of cancer. It is the Breast Awareness Month, an annual initiative to create awareness, consciousness about the disease. Hello everyone, this is Anshu Jain from Qatar Day and you are watching the Candid Talk, and I welcome you all to this special segment on breast awareness, that is breast cancer, beating breast cancer, brought to you by Bio Oil, world's leading product for scars and stretch marks. And joining us today on this significant segment is the senior consultant, oncoplastic breast surgeon from Hamad Medical Corporation, Dr. Ambika Anand. She has been trained in both UK and India and comes with a massive experience, and she has been in Qatar for nearly 8 years now. Delivering the best quality of breast surgical service and generating and creating awareness around the world is her prime focus. Friends, please help me welcome the highly cognizant, very insightful, extremely focused and mission-driven Dr. Ambika Anand. Thank you so much, Dr. Anand. It is indeed a great pleasure that you've agreed to share your valued time and experience with us. I'm pretty sure this session is going to be benefiting millions who are really curious to know more about breast cancer and related subjects.
You're most welcome, Anshu. It's my pleasure and honor to be a part of this program. It's talking about a subject is very dear and close to my heart. Thank you very much once again.
This pleasure is all ours, ma'am. We would want to know first that why October is referred to as Pink Ribbon Month?
Very good question, Anshu. October is, in the calendar of cancer, it's the Breast Aware Cancer Month. And why pink ribbon? There's a story to it. And the story goes back in the 60s. When in New York, when just regular woman who was diagnosed with breast cancer, at that time it was a taboo. People were not aware of it. And she met with a surgeon and he kept using the word, if you had come early. And so the doctor said, well, what do you mean by early? How would one find out? So anyway, the mother had her treatment and everything. So the doctor said, we have to do something about it. We need to make women aware of it. So she decided to go and stand at the corner of Fifth Avenue and started distributing peach ribbon. Just a color of a ribbon. I don't know whether the genesis of the ribbon campaign started there or before. And she would distribute the ribbon to everybody and say, this is to make sure you're aware. She would give it to the men as well, because men, you have wives, you have girlfriend, you have mother, be aware. And then this got caught on by one of the multinational cosmetic industries. And they said, oh, pink is a color for female, so why don't we have a pink ribbon? And that's how the whole pink happened. And I think in the calendar of things, I think this all started from the UK. They decided, okay, let's dedicate one full month so that at least in that month we talk about something that is dear, because many women were dying of breast cancer, are still dying today of breast cancer. And that is the reason the whole October month and the Pink Ribbon campaign happened.
It's dedicated to the breast cancer awareness.
Yeah.
When you talk about cancer, I would want to know first, because many fail to understand and many don't even realize until now that what does cancer actually mean?
That's a very good question, So cancer is primarily a disease of an aging cell. Okay, you will ask me a question, how come young children develop? And that is, cause may be completely different there. So I'm sure cancer existed time immemorial, but people didn't live that longer to have to be diagnosed with cancer. But over the years, we've more or less conquered many of the pandemic, barring the one that we have at the moment. So more and more people, men, women, have come. And in relation to cancer, the cancer word is a Latin word. Okay, the cancer itself, if you see the sign of cancer, it's a crab. So it literally eats away. Okay, it spreads. It's got these tentacles spreading everywhere, and it literally is a parasite in the human body. parasite of the normal cells.
Okay.
So that is the broad definition of cancer.
Okay. How common is breast cancer and how does one identify it?
So when I was a medical student, so you wouldn't see that many women with breast cancer. So you probably see one in a month and everybody will go to see that patient. So when I went back to work in my alma mater in the 90s, you had much more incidence was increased. So when we were taught that if you had a woman full of 100 women in a room, every 12th woman will develop breast cancer. But as time has gone by, the incidence has definitely increased. One, maybe because awareness has increased, maybe because our tools of diagnosis have become better. But now when I teach students, I teach my residents, I used to say 1 in 9 women have breast cancer. And truly speaking, the incidence has increased. It's not just an observation because awareness has increased. Truly the incidence has increased.
Okay, so that's why it's really important to create awareness about it.
Absolutely.
Indeed,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, what are the symptoms of breast cancer, or is it asymptomatic?
So, breast cancer as such, fortunately, women who have breast cancer in the early stages are generally in the rest of the body are quite asymptomatic. In other words, they won't have weight loss, they won't have, going off food or any other body symptoms. So they might just notice a change in their breast. They may notice a lump in their breast. Okay. They may notice an abnormal discharge in the breast. So you'll ask me what is normal discharge. And a lot of young women or even women in an older age might have normal discharge, which is greenish, yellowish in color. That's quite normal. And normally when women are lactating, it's milk discharge. Anything abnormal like a bloody discharge is alarming. Okay, or they might notice a change in the breast. That all comes to a woman knowing what her breast is like. Okay, so if she doesn't know what her breast is like, then obviously she won't be able to find out the difference between what is normal and abnormal. So commonest symptom women would come is with a lump.
Okay.
But I see more women with breast pain, but breast pain by definition and by generally is not a feature of breast cancer. So I want women there to believe and understand this, that pain is not a feature of breast pain in a younger women. Majority of women will have breast cancer, breast pain.
All right. So pain is not that important feature. It might be one of those, but then not necessarily the important feature. And that's why it's extremely important for them to understand what their breast is all about. Such that to create the proper awareness on the same.
So one of the things I would always say to women is, should you do a self-examination? There's a lot of importance was given to self-examination. So a woman examines her own breast, she'll always find lumps, always find, but breast is lumpy. So you will always find lumps. And so and then they'll ask me, when do I examine? What do I do? So one of the things that has come over the years is any new change you notice in your breast. So the best time to look at your breast in front of the mirror after a shower is after your periods. And if you feel comfortable, you can examine like a clock around, going around each side, and also looking under the arm to see if anything. And then you must keep a tab of it, because if you land up examining every month, then you know if there is any change or not.
Exactly. That can be easily figured out.
But I'm pretty certain how many women really actually look at their breast themselves, isn't it? I mean, we go into the shower, have a shower quickly, towel ourselves and come out. And it's all raising awareness, empowering yourself.
Definitely. Definitely. It's extremely important. When and how should one be screened for breast cancer?
It's a very, very good question, because breast screening by definition is for older women. Okay? Women beyond 40 or 45. So that again goes back to why only that age group and not younger age group? Because like I said to you, cancer is primarily disease of older cells. So the evidence so far have shown that breast cancer is much more common in women over the age of 40, 45. So in US, every woman, the moment she reaches 40, she'll get a call and she'll be screened every year. In UK and in Qatar, the age group is 44, 45. And this is all based on a study from Sweden. It's called the 2-county study, where they had actually screened thousands and thousands of women, and then they saw what happened to them. So when they screened them, they picked up early breast cancer, and the survival was better. So if you really use the term screening doesn't have to be before 45. In this country, we don't do it. In Qatar, in US, they do it before 40. How often should you do it? US does it every year. That's the way their policy. UK does it every 2-3 years, and so does Qatar. So maybe a good mixture would be every 2 years, but lots of economics play, because there's a lot of money involved as well, you know, the resources of the government. So you need to be aware of that.
Yes. Whom should one consult if they doubt they have breast cancer?
So first and foremost is not to get alarmed. Okay. And then if they have a lump or any new change or any symptom in their breast, is to actually go and see a breast surgeon.
Not a gynecologist.
Not a gynecologist.
Okay.
The other thing is that you may not, you know, in many countries, not necessarily only here, many countries, you may not have a dedicated breast surgeon. You may have a general surgeon who's doing breast work. That's fine, as long as they are being properly trained. That's perfectly, and updated themselves. That's perfectly fine. But I think we are very fortunate in Qatar to have a dedicated breast service, and therefore I think I would encourage women to go and seek help.
Yes, we have got the proper treatment here, and I guess that is one of the best out here, if I'm not mistaken.
The treatment here, the tools, the treatment is par excellence. I mean, some of them are, I can say very proudly, is even better than some of the Western world. Access to treatment and the treatment modalities, and the clinicians who are involved are absolutely superb.
What does invasive and non-invasive breast cancer mean?
So very, very good question. So patients often ask me, and I think in Arabic word, they call it the male and the female cancer. Okay, so they call it the female, the aggressive one, the invasive cancer. The male is the pre-invasive cancer. So if you look at, the breast has got glands and it's got milk duct. So if you were to look at the milk duct, it's like a circle. And it's got cells lining it. And the outer is like a membrane. It's called the basement membrane. It's very flimsy, very thin, but very tough. Okay? Tough in the sense its ability to penetrate. So a non-invasive cancer, the cells will divide. So going by the definition of cancer is, a cancer cell is a cell which has become rogue cell. Like less than that amount of time it's become rogue. Okay? So it divides even at the cost of its host. So pre-invasive cells will remain inside, will not spread. Whereas the invasive one breaks into the barrier. And then, why is it important? Because the invasive, the blood vessels, there are lymphatics, it can spread. So the potential to spread in an invasive cancer is 100%. Not that all invasive cancers have spread, but the potential to spread. Whereas a non-invasive or a pre-invasive cancer, breast cancer, or the male cancer as they call it here, by and large does not spread.
Okay.
So you can use the word cure eventually.
Yes. Ma'am, that means it can go to other parts of the body as well, if I'm not wrong, Dr. Anand.
Yeah. So the invasive cancer can spread to lymph nodes, which is local.
Yes.
Locally, it can spread into the tissues. It can go to lungs, liver, bones, brain. It can spread. So that is why when sometimes some patients, we do a PET CT to look at everything and to see if it's spread or not.
It can. And are men vulnerable to this as well? Can they too suffer from breast cancer?
Very, very, very good question. You know, men don't have a functioning breast, but they do have breast because they were all created that way. And men can develop breast cancer. And you know, it's a very sad thing to say that breast cancer has not been made aware in the rest of the world. And many years ago, there was a front of a Times magazine. There was African American, even I suffer, and that was in the month of October. And that is so true. So one of the things that when I was in UK, I would see if I saw 100 women with breast cancer, I would see one in that period of time. But I've seen more breast cancer in the last 7 years here than I've seen in 25 years in UK. So it might be something to do with the genetic pool, but men are not impervious to breast cancer. But one thing good about male breast cancer, stage for stage, male breast cancer behaves the same way as women. It's not much more aggressive.
Oh, okay.
It's the same treatment is same, similar given. So it's not worse if a man develops. It's emotionally torturing, but it is the same outcome.
It is the same outcome. Now, does the size of the tumor matter?
Very size matters.
What can one do about it?
So going back to my answer is early detection. Early detection saves life. So you look at a cancer, say a tumor or a lump that has, a woman comes to you palpable, which is about 1 centimeter. That, if you were to look at the history, the back, it has doubled. One cell has doubled several hundreds of times to become 1 centimeter. Okay? So if you were to pick it up earlier, the chance of it spreading is much less. So size matters.
Yeah.
Number one, in terms of the natural behavior. The second, size matters in a woman who comes to me with breast cancer. If she comes to me with 3 centimeters or 2 centimeters, and she comes to me with 7, 8 centimeters, the treatment options become difficult for me. Size matters. Apart from the fact, the bigger the size, the much higher the stage, the much higher the possibility of spread. That's different, but size matters.
It does, yes. How quickly should one make a decision of treatment? And what if somebody is not willing to go for a treatment?
Very, very difficult question to answer, because when patients do come, it's again denial that actually prevents them from actually accepting. It is not me. It cannot be me. You know, that's the thing. The thing that I always say to the women when they leave the room and after having broken the bad news, I would say is, remember, this is treatable. This is you can control it, you know, and the treatment is much better than what it was 20 years ago. So reassuring them, having that conversation to get them on the page. In spite of that, you will have lots of patients who would say, can I wait until 3 months? I usually say to them, don't delay beyond 6 weeks to 8 weeks. You know why? Because you don't know where you are in the journey of the tumor you found. So, you know, what is going to do? I do have a handful of patients, both here and in the UK, who will come to me every 6 months, not having any treatment. Can you do a repeat scan for me? I've had patients who have actually gone and had other kinds of medications and come back and say, I want to see. 70 to 80% of them have said it's actually increased in size, and have to abandon after a few months and say, okay, I'll go back to what you said you did. Okay, and some of them, the situation has not been very good. The other myth that many people have, particularly in our part of the world, as well as in that if there is a kutla, as they call in Arabic, they'll say, oh, I don't want a biopsy, because biopsy means it will spread. I think that's a myth. I've been in this specialty for 40 years plus. Biopsy, taking a sample, does not increase the spread of the disease. Okay, so biopsy actually helps us plan the treatment, what is individualize the treatment for that patient, and that is very important. And that is, a lot of myth is there. And then the other thing that many people have is, oh, I'll probably use complementary. Complementary medicine is very good for managing certain symptoms, but unfortunately, I go by evidence-based medicine, so I can only tell you what evidence is in allopathic medicine. That's what I would say.
Proper treatment is of utmost importance.
And
the more you delay, the more risk you are at.
And in some of the cancers, the word cancer is a bad word, I understand. But some of them, like I said to you, are curable.
Yeah. I'm getting it. So when you're talking about treatment, that it is important to get the right kind of treatment. So what are the different treatment modalities available, and what is the basic difference between each of them?
So some of them go in tandem, some of them go one after another. So the treatment that is very much individualized to a patient. So local control, as I say, and systemic control. So local control will be surgery. Early breast cancer, surgery. And whether they need chemotherapy or not, it is decided later after the surgery, when we have the full information of their post-operative, pathology results, and then we sit in a committee and everybody is there, and then we decide for the patient. And some patients will need surgery and radiotherapy. Some patients will need surgery, radiotherapy, and chemotherapy. Not everybody needs chemotherapy, mind you.
Okay.
And not everybody needs hormonal treatment either. There's something called target therapy, which has actually saved a lot of life. Not everybody needs it. But the thing is that everything is discussed individualized. Okay? Everything has its advantage. Okay? So some women in whom the tumor is very big, we might actually give them chemotherapy beforehand to shrink the tumor. And again, it is discussed. It's a discussion we have in our team and a discussion that I have with my patients.
Okay.
It's a very much a shared decision making. I have patients who will say, no, I actually had a second opinion, or I went and spoke to my family, because there's a myth that you should have surgery as the first option. And I have to actually sit with people and then say, surgery is not the option. I cannot force people, but I can have that discussion with them.
Yes.
It's a shared decision making I make with them. Yeah.
But are there any side effects of these treatments? Maybe chemotherapy or radiotherapy and surgery, all of them?
All of them. You said it's about weighing the risk and benefit, Anshu. Okay. Surgery by itself has become much more safer than what it was 30, 40, 50 years ago. Anesthesia risk is almost eliminated completely. And many of the breast surgeries I do as a daycare. They come in and have it done the same day and they go home the same day. Okay. Some of the extensive breast surgery that I do, which is reconstruction after a mastectomy, whatever do, might have to stay a bit longer. But by and large, they recover. Okay, but surgery by itself has some risks, right? Infection, bleeding, those are conversations that we have with the patient.
It's manageable.
It's very much manageable. Chemotherapy has become much better than what it was 20, 25 years ago. The side effects that were there is much more easily manageable. I'm not sure if you've seen some old movies and things where you see them having chemotherapy, all the worst kind of scenarios. Now, those are much, much less than what they are, much more easily manageable as well. And therefore, I would be wrong of me to say, oh, there's no side effect. There are side effects, but manageable side effects. And one of the side effects that patients, often women come to me, even men actually come to me and say, oh, I'm going to have chemotherapy. Oh, God, I'm going to lose my hair. And I often say it's temporary. It's temporary.
Okay.
And then there are some, devices available, which is like a cool cap. It's almost like having a freezer in your head, which prevents the hair from falling. You can do that if somebody can tolerate it. They can do it. If it's available, they can use it. And, it's again the risk and benefit that you make.
Yeah.
And if it's going to give you overall survival benefit and you're going to live longer to see one's grandchild, shoot.
So we can see that the side effects of the treatment are manageable. But Dr. Anand, I would want to ask you a very important question. What is the mortality rate in general?
So very, very good and a very difficult question. Even today, as we speak, about 40,000 women die per year in UK with breast cancer. Okay? Again, mortality is so dependent upon the stage of the disease. Early detection saves life. And the patients have done everything right, but the disease it's the biological behavior of that rogue cell in their body, how it's going to behave. They have done everything. They've done, chemotherapy, radiotherapy. They're all insurance policies. But unfortunately, that tumor decides to behave badly in her. So whereas in somebody else, the other person may be alive for 20 plus years, God being kind.
So it is completely based on the
individual. But
no treatment, nothing can do anything about it.
Yeah, the only thing is early detection. You do your bit. And the good thing about, one thing good, I must say, there's a silver lining here. And that is what the treatment was 25 years ago, stage by stage. So for example, if it was stage 4, 25 years ago, where it spread in the liver, we would just say, make them comfortable. Now, people are living 5 years, 6 years, first line treatment, second line treatment, newer treatment, trials, all over the world, the outcome is much better. But sadly, we still lose women. We still lose women and men to the disease.
It's still there, right?
Yeah.
So the only way to, not to get rid, but to protect yourself is the early detection.
Early detection, seek help, be adherent, be compliant with the treatment. Compliance is very important. And have that conversation with your clinician. That is the most important.
But does willpower play a role in the entire treatment process at the same time when we talk about long living?
You couldn't have said it better. You couldn't have said it better, because I think it's, I always say biofeedback. Not only willpower, it is actually I'm going to get it. I'm going to beat it. I am really going to. It's almost like going for a war.
Yeah.
And what does that do? What does that do? It's not just simply words. It does boost up your immunity because the power of positive thinking.
Yes.
When we are sad and this thing, we catch cold and we fall ill. It's the same principle. Your immunity boosts up, and what immunity does, we do not know to the cancer. It must be beating it. So I always say, be strong and you will. And I've got a whole lot of patients in the last several years. You see, you would have thought, and some of them after a few years they even forget that they had cancer. So because it does help, it's a mind over body.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Yeah, so having the right attitude, that positive attitude,
Absolutely.
faith and confidence in yourself and the doctor, the surgeon is extremely important.
And lifestyle modification is very important.
Yes.
Obesity is a big risk. Smoking, alcohol are very big risks. So that people have to rethink about it. Absolutely rethink about it. If somebody is obese and have been diagnosed, the first thing I say when the patients are leaving after having I said, next time I come see you, 5 kilos you have to be less. So what shall I do? I said, okay, not having a surgery to fix the obesity, but actually actively participating in making that lifestyle modification is very important. Very important.
That's true. One has to apply all those principles in their lives.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
Now, how long would it take for one to recover completely, or if not completely, at least recover and be back to normal? And can it reoccur?
So I'll answer the second question first, and that is yes, recurrence is possible, local recurrence and systemic spread. Okay, so remember this is like an insurance policy I said to you. So you do everything, but you cannot prevent what the action. You'll do your best. The chances of that happening are you lessening. So the local recurrence is when you've had a surgery in the same breast because the whole area was a high-risk area. Even after mastectomy, people can have recurrence. I usually tell my patients, some patients say, I don't know, let me have a mastectomy. Not all women need mastectomy. Not all of them need. Okay. Some of them just need lumpectomy. Why do you want to mutilate your body? And they say, no, I want to be peaceful I don't want to remove it and peaceful. I tell them, even after mastectomy, you can have 1% recurrence every year, okay? And that does not stop you. And again, individual. I look at the patient's profile, I look at the patient's histology. Some of them might even have had very heavy disease. So their systemic spread is much higher risk. So I have to protect them.
Yes.
So it can happen. Yes. So when it happens, they often come and ask you, why did it happen? Was it me? But it's something that is again inherent nature of that rogue cell in their body.
Nobody can do anything.
We do everything in our power. She does everything within her power.
Yeah.
But we have to just wait and see the prognosis.
It is beyond the control of,
yeah,
which is undefinable.
But then we do have a ballpark figure. So early breast cancer, like stage 1, there's a 90% chance 10-year survival. Okay, whereas stage 4, about 50% chance survival at 10 years. We're talking about 10 years, okay? We're not talking about yearly. We usually talk in terms of 5 or 10 years. So we say excellent prognosis, poor prognosis. So we actually look at patients in that way. There are a lot of tools available. We can put into it and say, what are the chances of recurrence? And I usually discuss that with the patient,
Okay. Dr. Anand, one very basic question that comes to everyone's mind, but it is yet very crucial. Does it affect one's sexual life or the ability to conceive? And even if somebody is conceiving and if they're able to deliver successfully, is breastfeed possible?
So there are multiple questions in this. And the question is that sexual health in general, after diagnosed with breast cancer, it's very intricately connected with patients' emotional well-being. Extremely, because the moment women get, older women, when they get breast cancer, they have the fear, they will say, I don't want to be intimate with my husband. My body image is very poor. I always say to them, that cuddle is important. That intimate, intimacy is important. You're not going to transmit to him. He's going to accept you as what you are.
It is not communicable.
It is not communicable. And it's not going to interfere, and then some of the medications that they have, hormone treatment, can decrease their sexual drive. That happens. But then that is where psychologists help. That's why we have a clinical nurse specialist who actually discuss with them, explore all those and address those issues. Okay, and again, when you're treating these women, you're not treating them in isolation. You have to talk to the husbands as well, because they're also going through a lot.
Yes.
You know, so you need to have a lot of sessions. So you need to have, sometimes you need counseling for them. So they can, going back to your answer, they can have a normal life, nothing. Okay. There are issues about body images. They have to walk through those, and that's why, when you do a breast conserving surgery or lumpectomy, you have to do it properly. You don't want a disfigured breast, because women would come to me who have took over somebody's practice in UK. She said, I don't undress in front of my husband because I don't like my breast is disfigured. So it's important that we match the cosmetic outcome and the cancer control outcome beautifully. And that's a generation of surgeons we belong to, that we call ourselves oncoplastic surgeon, because we match both. We look at, and then reconstruction. Not all women we can have reconstruction. Some of them we can have. We'll encourage them to have.
So reconstruction is possible.
Impossible, immediate, late. Again, it depends upon. One of the next question that you asked me about pregnancy, whether you can conceive or not. So a lot of young women develop breast cancer in this part of the world. I also see women who've had breast cancer while they were pregnant. Okay, so again, it depends upon the stage of pregnancy, stage of the disease. So first trimester, medications are not safe.
Okay.
Surgery is safe. Radiation is not safe.
But still conception can continue.
She can continue if she decides to have surgery. But if she decides to have, if her stage says she has to have chemotherapy, then she will have to terminate the pregnancy. It's a very decision we make in a multidisciplinary team. It has to be discussed with the gynecologist, and then they do. And then she might have chemotherapy, and then go up to term, have the delivery, then finish the treatment, finish the radiotherapy. She won't be able to breastfeed.
She won't be able to,
No,
even if she is able to deliver successfully.
No, she won't be able to breastfeed.
What about she has already been treated, and after that she has conceived?
So now, very good, very important and very good question. So we have a huge lot of young women who are in their 30s who have had breast cancer. And they'll say, I really want to conceive. In olden times, we used to say, you can never conceive. So studies have come out now more recently that kind of a blanket statement is wrong. So we would say, if you are 2 years after having treatment, which I personally think 2 years is too short a time for somebody who's in their 30s. But if somebody's 38, if you tell them wait for 5 years, they're already getting into menopause, they may not conceive. So in those cases, an average ballpark of 2 years is what we say, you can have. Okay, and they can go on to breastfeeding is something if the breast recovers, they may be able to feed the breast. But
They may be able to.
But there's no hard and fast rule. It again depends upon the body.
Individual, completely.
Yeah.
Right. Dr. Anand, one question I would want to ask to you about your life. You're a surgeon. You're a senior consultant, oncoplastic breast surgeon.
Yeah.
At the same time, you are the survivor of the breast cancer.
Yeah.
You have too gone through this phase.
Yeah.
Being a patient and treating the patients are absolutely two different things, and they have got massive difference.
Yeah.
Could you please walk us through your journey, that how things panned out for you, and how were you able to handle yourself emotionally, physically, in every manner?
Very, very good question, and difficult question to answer, because it just takes you back to the time, the day I was working in breast surgery those days, and just found a lump the day my daughter got her GCSE results. She was all over the newspaper because she had done very well. And I thought, it's nothing, it's a cyst, and it ended up being something else. So my first concern was, like most women, I want to be alive for my child. I was not afraid of death. I was afraid of the fact that practicality have to be. And I was in UK, and so I went all out, had all the treatment, and here I am, nearly 21 years, an example. And the first thing I said was, I'm not going to allow it to get the better of me.
It was the willpower that played the crucial role.
Partly. And we have side effects and things. In those days, chemotherapy wasn't that great, but then side effects were there. It managed. But the other thing is, A lot of colleagues of mine with whom I worked had lots of reservations about me getting back into the same specialty. I was a surgeon with interest in breast surgery, so they all had, and so in UK we have to go through occupational health, and I had counselling, I had full interview and said, listen, you're going to go back into your specialty. You're going to see some patients who are going to be successful, some patients who will not be doing very well. What will it do to you when you see patients? Will you identify yourself with every patient who does not do well?
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe it's an innate thing or a survival instinct. I've never ever looked at a patient in my life, and I'm not lying to you, ever seen a patient who's progressed disease. I've felt what could I have done for her more, or what is that we can do for that particular patient, but I've never identified myself with that patient. It might be that I'm blanking out, I don't know, but that has kept me through.
Yeah.
And it's a reality, I may be 21 years since in the disease, but I'm not cured. I'm not cured, Anshu. I know it. Because this beast is such that you cannot use the word cure even after 20 years. So you have to have the reality. The longer you are free of the disease, bonus. Put it in your bag, bonus point. Bonus point. And the only plus point now is the treatment is far, far superior what it was 21 years ago.
It's true.
And after coming back, I said to my boss, Jeremy Wood was his name, and I said to him, Mr. Wood, my resolve is much stronger than what it was before. And I'm very passionate about my specialty. Sometimes people misunderstand my passion for it. And I was very fortunate. I was in a country which is the world's best breast services in the world, even today, in spite of US being very good in oncology. But as far as breast surgery is concerned, the provision of service is fantastic in UK. And second one is Qatar is equal or even better than UK. And I think you have to be passionate about the specialty to be able to provide that women that high level of service. You don't have to identify yourself with them, but you have to feel passionate about it. And I'm very fortunate, we have a handful of people who are very fortunate. And the first time surgery, first time treatment is the best treatment. Mm-hmm. So I will always say to women, they run and they will say, oh, let me go and have surgery done. And all. Let somebody look at you sensibly. Let them look at you overall, holistic approach. Just taking the lump out is not be the treatment. We get lots of patients who have lump taken out and then we have to do second surgery, and surgery. So taking lump out is not the answer.
Yeah.
But I think resolve is important, self-belief is important, power of positive thinking is important, lifestyle changes is important. Adhering to what your physicians or clinicians tell you is very important.
Yeah.
You have to do your best.
Yes. And afterwards, the follow-up is extremely important, I believe.
Which one?
Follow-up.
Oh, follow-up is very important because that's why I'm saying adherence to your clinicians,
Yes.
And then, we are very, very fortunate now. We have a huge survivorship program. So these are women, patients, who've survived through the treatment and now they have, they've reached a stage when you can talk about their other aspects of life, and these are women who don't have to be reminded constantly every day they've got breast cancer. So one of the things that happened to me, so I had my treatment and I moved away from the primary hospital I was working in because I didn't want people to stop me and ask me. So when I went elsewhere and had my treatment, came back, a year later somebody stopped me and said, how are you, Ambika? I said, what happened to me? I'd forgotten. I couldn't even remember what happened because it wasn't that I blanked out. I felt so well. So, and that is what is important.
One can completely lead a normal life.
Absolute normal life. Absolute normal life.
That's a misconception that people carry, that once it is done, then you can never be normal again in life.
We have
about your thoughts and
we have a big number of patients in Qatar who have really done well, and the team is absolutely superb here. They have done, and so there are, unfortunately, like I said, there will be still women who we will lose, but by and large, majority of them, early detection, proper treatment, they'll do very well.
They will recover.
Yeah, they will do
be
very
able
well.
to sustain. Yeah, certainly. It was such a pleasure talking to you, Dr. Ambika. And I would want to know that one message that you would want to give to all of our audience, all the patients, and in fact, to the general public to create awareness on this Breast Cancer Awareness Month, that is October?
So early detection saves lives. And to the men, I would say, you owe it to the women in your family. If you have to give them a gift of breast imaging. Ask them to go and attend screening if it's your mother. If it's your wife who's younger, tell her to be breast aware. If she finds something, it may be nothing, but she needs to seek. If it's your daughter, tell her to be breast aware. And that's the most important message I would like to give. Thank you.
Thank you so much for giving us your valued time and experience. That indeed matters a lot to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
So guys, I was in conversation with Dr. Ambika Anand from Hamad Medical Corporation. And the key messages that we got from this significant segment are: awareness about breast health is extremely important. Early diagnosis is extremely important. And at the same time, getting yourself properly treated is equally important. If you have that willpower, if you have the positive attitude, faith, and belief in yourself, there is nothing that you cannot beat. With your support, we can show every woman that her life is really important. And by working together, we can be the force for good. We can instill hope and get every girl the access for the care she needs. Because every life matters. This is Anshu Jain, your host for the Candid Talk. And for more such updates, keep following Qatar Day on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And at the same time, subscribe to our YouTube channel, that is Qatar Day. And for daily news and updates, keep visiting our website, that is qatarday.com. I'll be back again with another interesting episode. And until then, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.